Hey, sweetie pie.
Boys like girls and girls like boys, provided that they have big hearts or expensive toys. Preferably both, but what if they don't and the girls' heads collided with what the heart provided, which was cuddles rather than castles? In other words, what if your prince is riding into your life, but he is not on a luxurious, thoroughbred white horse? Hello there, this is Bianca Bashak from crazylovestories.com, a website dedicated to true stories of how people met and fell in love. And today's story is called My Prince is on a Donkey. I was talking to my dear friend Zach the other day, who's a gem of a human, wise and wonderful. Being the excellent philosopher come comedian that he is, his insightful observation hit me like a giggle bomb. It was this: if you don't know who your prince is, sure, wish for a prince riding on a white horse and a big sack of gold hanging off of his saddle. But if you've met your prince and you now know who he is, it doesn't matter what he does or doesn't have. In fact, if you've managed to find your prince, nothing else matters really. I couldn't agree more. I'm sure my astrologer friends would have something to say about this, but 2015 and 2016 must have been a particularly auspicious time for people who'd refused to settle into, he'll do, she'll do type unions, since a good few of my dear friends, mostly in their 40s and 50s, who'd been eternally single happened to find their forever partners, fell in love, and went on to get married for the first time ever because it happened to feel right for the first time ever. What was very interesting about these lovebirds, who were all around the world and had never met each other, was that they had one thing in common. While the women were of average incomes and had steady jobs and careers, the men were all in dire financial straits or full blown debt due to the oftentimes merciless ebb and flow of life, bad business decisions or investments, trusting the wrong person, or just being in a country where the economy was struggling and companies had to be non discerning when it came to layoffs. It was with the utmost pleasure that I watched the beauty and pureness of the human spirit unfold as one by one these lovely girls told their men, money comes and money goes. Love, on the other hand, does not. Let's stick together. We'll make it work. And make it work they did. As my wise friend Elika told me, there is a certain energy that is alchemically birthed into existence when two souls unite, and as a result, things that were not possible before are rendered possible. As a complete testament to this, the unexpected blessings and abundance that followed these couples after they made the intention to commit to their love, despite the financial situations of the men involved, was like watching a real life fairy tale in action. Not only did these princes manage to get back up on their feet, but they also had an abundance of good fortune flow into their lives in many other ways, and they went on to being able to have beautiful, healthy babies despite their ages, officially categorized as geriatric by doctors. Or they set up new businesses or got new jobs, and only within a few years, some even managed to buy their first homes. But what if these ladies had a different worldview? What happens if you have grown up in an environment where your culture, upbringing, the expectations of your family, or financial struggle has steered you towards the conclusion that it doesn't matter if the dude on the white horse is indeed chivalrous, loving, and faithful, and befitting of actually being called a prince? Or the worst, whether you even love him or not, as long as he has a sack of gold hanging under his saddle somewhere and the kind of surname you want to anchor your life into, with a Mrs. preceding it. Let's say that's what you believed in when a true, precious gem of a prince came up along the horizon, who actually did make your heart flutter. But then you saw that he was actually not on a horse, but riding an old donkey. And the only sack in sight was one that contained what looked like a book. Would you stick around forever? Or would you enjoy a few kisses and then girl ghost your way out of there as soon as your mind and your world view veto your heart? Then imagine that the other type of prince showed up. Nice white horse, sack of gold, and all, and you hopped right behind him. And now your life is indeed a cocktail of Michelin star restaurants and private yachts and seasonal trips skiing and Lake Comoing and Burning Manning since he was a particularly generous prince. Your lifestyle and Instagram ego might be satisfied. But what about your soul? What about your heart? And what about your body? Would any of those three be deeply nourished? Or would you be getting increasingly hangry, which is, as you know, anger produced by hunger, for something that you can't even name? Would that be an easy thing to admit? Would you be posting that photo of your bubbly drink on your first class flight as you fly to a five-star hotel and tagging it hashtag big, hashtag void? Not too many people talk about this section of the golden cage, do they? The big black hole in your soul section. It's just like having a mineral deficiency or your hormones being a little out of whack. You'll interpret the craving you feel as hunger, but what your body is really yearning for is a bit of thyroid loving, not that huge box of donuts that you almost swallowed whole, which left you bloated, a good few grams heavier, and, worst of all, still yearning for something that you just can't name. As years carry on, would your mind keep skipping back to that prince on a donkey? Would you be able to drown out all the questions in your mind that begin with, what if? Would your inner knowing be a bit more unforgiving, screaming out that you missed out on that one big love? And missing out on that big love in your life is actually not quite like missing out on a birthday party because you got sick. It's not like missing out on a concert and then finding out your buddies lucked out on backstage passes and autographs. On those occasions, you might say, "Oh, darn," then swiftly get over it. No, this missing is a different kind of missing. It's the big love you miss. The one that makes you wake up in the morning, open your eyes, and catch your virgin sight of the day. Your significant other with their mouth hanging open and a gentle snore making fart noises as it exits their mouth, which leads you to your first thought of the day, and that thought is, I am the luckiest schmuck on this earth, as you lovingly wipe away his drool. And thus you start every day with an inner peace that comes with knowing you have been blessed with a special kind of love, one that will not wither because you have loved for all the right reasons. This is the kind of thing you miss out on every single morning, every single night, every moment of your day, every second of your life, forever. So, what should you do if your prince shows up riding on a donkey? The best way to get the right answer for anything is to ask the right question. So, let's take a step back and rephrase that. What should you do before anyone shows up on a horse or a donkey? I would think it's wise to be prepared for it by doing your homework by pondering deeply. What kind of partnership do you want in your life? What does your ideal relationship look and feel like? Unlearn everything that your family, society, Hollywood, or social media has taught you and question your priorities. Question your soul. And every time you get an answer, keep going further into it by asking why. Where did that opinion come from? And if you realize that you have copy-pasted these opinions you have from somewhere that is not your own, and that when you inspect them objectively, or rather subjectively, they do not resonate with your soul, replace them with values that are your own. Equally importantly, before you do any of this, you need to get that sabotage-loving friend out of your life, the one that hates their own life because they think it sucks to be them and gives you all the wrong advice because they want your life to suck too. I know you. Yes, honey, you that's listening right now. And I know who this friend is, and I'm not afraid to name and shame right here in public. That thing that you think is your friend is called fear. You know exactly what fear sounds like and the type of brainwashing it tries to rain on you. Next time you hear that hater trying to manipulate you, take a few deep breaths and say to yourself, I welcome courage, peace, and clarity. Repeat a good few times until you feel that something might have shifted. I have used this method countless times and it always works for me. Words are magic, and when you speak to yourself, there is a place deep within that responds. Try it, and of course, feel free to add your own words, whatever works for you. Another thing to aim for could be to live in such a way that when the day comes for you to die, and dear fellow human, we all will, you will die knowing that the life you lived was for you and you alone, not your father, not your mother, not your culture or religion, and not your fears. If this pre-Prince deep pondering confirms to you that a life full of riches is still what your soul screams out for, by all means, take that path. As long as you are convinced that the decision you made really suits your soul and this is the right choice for you. Love and romance is not a huge priority for everyone. I never forgot the answer I received from a friend of mine as we were having a heart-to-heart after a good few years of not catching up. I asked him if he was still in love with his wife, and he said, You know me, I'm not the in love type. So it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Living a life for a career, your calling, for your family, be it your children or elderly parents, or just wanting to be comfortable financially in a union that suits you in depth and breadth, even if it is not as deep as Hollywood standards, is completely fine. As long as this is a choice you have made fully consciously and everyone's on the same page. But if soul-thrilling love is what you're after, keep your eyes open so that if your prince comes rolling in on a donkey, you will be prepared and you won't miss out on the biggest treasure a human can be blessed to stumble upon, a heart made of solid gold. That, my friends, is priceless, and that is where true treasure is hidden, and no amount of money in the world will be able to buy you that. I really do love Zach's deep spiritual, philosophical perspectives on life and enjoy our exchanges tremendously. He's almost 50, and age does have a way to add to that wisdom. But we aren't able to catch up as frequently these days. See, his life has changed and he's quite busy. He met his soulmate and fell in love. It must have been around 2015 or 2016. Got married and had a gorgeous, happy, healthy baby boy, and thus the full schedule. Oh, and he's also traded in his donkey for a horse somewhere along the way. And the book that he carried in his sack has magically turned into gold. Alchemy is very real, folks. All you have to do is believe. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you want to catch new stories as they come up, please do subscribe to my website, crazylovestories.com, or follow me on the social media channel of your choice. I'm sure I'll plant the links all over the place. This is Bianca Bashak wishing you a day, a night, a life full of love. I hope you hear from me again, as in, I hope you subscribe.